So I guess like immediately seeing like skin color, but I think that was one of the first realizations that there was like a bigger difference that I had never really been aware of at a really young age.
Right.
The fifth grade. Fifth grade. I was in the fifth grade when 9/11 happened.
And then how did you come to accept it? Or like what was your initial response? Were you angry about it?
Yeah, it was a long journey because it was something that always kind of came up for me of having my father's side of the family being of Arab descent, having the name Ali Abu Zalam. Even when I graduated college in the oil and gas industry in West Texas, it was actually I got my first job out of college working for an oil company where my role was to negotiate oil and gas leases. And I called this woman who owned a lot of acreage in North Dakota. I'll never forget. Her name was Marjorie Pravatsky. She owned a lot of acreage in North Dakota. She must have been a wealthy woman because I was calling her to offer just the lease signing bonus of $80,000 just to sign the lease. And this was just one of her tracts of land that she owned. So I was like, damn, like this lady's probably pretty wealthy. And she lived in New York. So I called her. I was like, hi, Miss Pravatsky, this is Ali with Purple Land Management, blah, blah. She's like, Ali? Ali who? And I was like, Ali Abuzam. And she literally goes, what kind of terrorist name is that? But like went off
Yeah.
on this rant. And I was like, oh my God. I remember just like sweating in the office and just being so like, how am I supposed to do this? But eventually, I turned it around, and by the end, I ended up leasing her acreage, and she loved me by the end of that, and we built a relationship. But I remember feeling so different that it would hinder my performance as a business professional in the oil and gas industry to where I really thought about changing my name.
Yeah.
I even experienced, I was like, I can't go completely, but maybe I can change it a little bit. Like I have some uncles, two of my uncles legally shortened their name to Zalam because they experienced a lot of racism as well. So they shortened their last name from Abu Zalam to Zalam. And like one of my uncles, his original name is Adnan Abu Zalam, but he changed it to Danny Zalam to be more American, to be able
Huh.
to navigate business. And I remember I thought about it. I even changed my name on Facebook for a little bit to Jaden Ali. I had it hyphenated, Jaden Ali. I was like, just let me try it out. But I was really in that mental space. And I don't know exactly what it was, but something happened to where I was like, fuck that shit. I'm Ali Abuzalam. I'm
Yeah.
not changing my fucking
Yeah.
name like for nobody. This is who I am. And I really owned that.
Yeah.
But it had been a struggle for a while because of the communities I was in, and just I would allow small experiences like that one with Miss Pravatsky or like little racist things really make me question if me being my individual self was the best thing for living the best life that I could.
And so you started accepting yourself not based on what everybody else thought.
Mhm.
I think that's a big struggle many people have is they want to be themselves based off what everybody else is going to think.
Mhm.
And the reality is nobody else is thinking about you. They're so worried about thinking about themselves. For me, I always felt different as a kid. But what really stood out to me was when I was 16 and I was a busboy at the officers club on the base. And it was me and Abel was one of my coworkers. He was a refugee from Somalia. His family had come over to flee the war.
Wow.
And he was so happy to be working. I think it was like $3.65 an hour.
Dang.
And there's a couple other dudes, but me and Abel seemed to work all the shifts together. And we had this German lady that spoke heavy German at mean as hell was our boss. And she kept promising us a raise. It was like 10 cents or something. And I was the only one, I'm only 16. I was the only one to go to her and be like, hey, what happened? Like, you were supposed to give us this raise. And she would like tell me stuff. And I knew she was lying to us. And everybody else just kept coming to work. And they're like, well, that's just all we get paid. And I was like, no, that's not how this works. So on Sundays, they did a big brunch. And we lived at Andrews Air Force Base, which is like right outside the Pentagon. It's the big DC base. And at this brunch on Sundays, it's all like the people you'd see on TV, generals and their wives are all like, they're there to eat and to kind of politic and show out.
Mm-hmm.
So like their wives and kids are dressed to the hilt. And here we are, just lonely bus boys. Like nobody cares about us. So I was like, all right, guys, I got a plan. Like, everybody be here on Sunday, and we're going to work. And I asked her again. I was like, hey, what about that raise? And she's like, oh, no, next week. I was like, okay. And this has been going on for months.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, at 10 o'clock, quit working. And, like, I'm only 16, 15 maybe. And all these kids are like, what? We're going to get fired. I was like, no, trust me on this. Quit working. So how they did, like, they ate, it was a buffet. And they would eat, and then the waitresses would put their dishes on these carts, and we'd run out and grab the carts and take it back. I was like, at 10 o'clock, quit doing that. So we all just went and sat in the break room. And like 10:30, she comes from back, she's screaming at us, what are you, moron? And she was mean. She called us names all the time. She's like, there's dishes. You get off your asses and get out there and work. And I was like, well, we need our raise. And she's like, calls me names, like, you're not getting your raise. And I was like, okay. Cool, we're not going out. And I was like, okay, all you guys come get my car with me. And they were like, what are you doing? You're crazy. So I told her, I was like, here's my phone number. We're going to go to my house to hang out. When you want to give us a raise, we'll come back and finish working. And we left. We left. And I don't know how long we were gone. It seemed like forever. But she called. She's like, all right, I'll give you a raise. Get back in here. So we come. I don't even think we went to my house. I think we went like around the. No, we had to go to my house because we didn't have cell phones. So we had to go all the way home, which is only a few minutes away. So anyhow, we come back, dude, and there's like dishes piled everywhere. And like these people are pissed. They're like, I didn't pay to eat in a place with this. So now we're hustling. So we had to do more work in the end, but we got our raise. And for me, that was one of the times that I realized I had an ability to like influence. And if I stood up for myself, other people would stand up for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're like, Abel was just so happy to have a job, which I appreciate. Like, I was happy to have a job, but also knew, like, you promised us more money, and money is important. And if Abel had an extra 15 cents an hour, what does that do for his life? And if we're not going to stand up for ourselves, then we're always at somebody else's decision making. And I was like, so I learned a couple things. One, I'm always my own person. Two, I will stand up. And three, when you stand up for yourself, it allows others to realize their value as well.
That's a good story.
So I just remember that people, and then it's funny because in my life, you know, I ended up being like president of a union for a while, and coaching. You know, to me, like coaching is literally like getting people to see there's more in them and bringing it out. And yeah, it's just. So that's when I knew, like, okay, I got to do something different. Like, I cannot just fall in line with everybody else or I'm going to be miserable.
Yeah.
I wonder how Abel's doing. But that was such a common name for we had a big Somali population because they were fleeing the Civil War at the time. And a lot of them came to the Washington, D.C. area. And, like, it seemed like Abel must have been like John or Bob or Robert, you know what I mean? Because like almost all the Somalis I met, their first name was Abel. But he was such a good dude. I taught him some bad stuff though. I showed him some tricks around the trade. He's like, you could do this. I was like, trust me, Abel, we're fine.
Leading the rebellion.
Dude, I've never been one to get just taken advantage of. You know, and I think that's one of the strengths that I have that allows others to find it in themselves is you're responsible for how you let people treat you. You know, and if you let me treat you poorly and call you names and lie to you and not show up when I'm supposed to show up, not do what I'm supposed to do, and you accept that, you're responsible for letting me treat you like that. You know, and if you want people to treat you differently, then you got to stand up for yourself. And I think sometimes in a world of political correctness and kind of, I don't want to say anything that might offend some people, we just allow people to walk all over us.